Where should I start? After graduating medical billing and coding school, I got on an externship, and it wasn't what I wanted. It was like child psychology. So I worked in a small, very small office with only like one other person, and then there were psychiatrists that were there. And I was a little disappointed, I wanted to work for a doctor's office or a hospital, and I got offered the job. And the day he offered me the job, I stepped out on the elevator and my phone rang, and it was this manager from the heart specialist, because I interviewed with two other people from school. We interviewed for a job at the heart specialist, which when applying for that, it had a test before you got hired, and it had an interview, and you met the coworkers. So I felt really bad after that interview. I was like, I think I did good. The test, I bombed it. No. And what happened was the manager called me, and this is like 2 months later, and she says, hey, we wanted to offer you the position at the heart specialist. So I had to choose. I had to make a choice. I chose the heart specialist, and I broke the manager's heart. He was like, are you serious? He was like, I created a position for you. We like you here, and you're going to choose something else. And I said, this is what I really wanted. And it was really tough, but I did it. Okay, so after that, I accepted the job at the heart specialist, started working there. I asked the manager, I said, why did you hire me? The other students, did they do better on the test? Like, I just wanted to know. And she said, we loved your personality. She was like, we loved you. She was like, your coworkers, they liked you after the interview. I liked you. She said, you did the worst on the test. Okay. Anyways, so I started to realize, okay, this is an office atmosphere. And if it's a small office, people have to get to know you. They have to like you. They can teach you the position, and they'll enlighten you more, but you have to get along with people. You have to have a likable personality. So this really, really helped me. What she told me helped me throughout my medical billing career. Okay, so I stayed there for about 2 years. I got bonuses. We started to meet with the doctors, learn different personalities. Some doctors are more critical, some are not. Some are like, hey, where are the numbers? What are you guys doing? You need to collect. And then some are like, okay, they accept whatever is going on. So I learned that too. So different personalities of the doctors, learning your coworkers and managers, getting along with them is a big part of medical billing and coding. So I was assisting the accounts receivable. So I was like an assistant, but one of the ladies left. And when she left, I was able to get her position. And so I began to prove myself. I went to the oldest part of the AR, which is the accounts receivable packet that she used to give us. I went to the oldest money, big numbers, big money. And I began to call people, and I began to demand things and use information that I had. And that's where I started. And I remember going into the office to my manager. I was like, hey, I said, what can I say? What can I say and what can't I say to these insurance companies? And she was like, get the money. She was like, be professional, but get the money. She said, just make sure you collect. She shouldn't have told me that. So I got on the phone. I was like, let me speak to your supervisor. Let me speak to your manager. These are the laws. I start quoting everything. I just brought everything that I had to the plate. I was so excited about this position. So I did stay there only just 2 years, and then I got a job offer for a cancer specialist. And I was like, I'm gonna go here, this cancer specialist. They promised me that they would train me to be certified specifically in cancer specialist coding. So I thought oncology coding, this is nice. But that didn't work out. I stayed there maybe a year because it had a high turnover, and I learned to look online and look for jobs, but look into them and see if they had a high turnover and if the employees had issues with the company. So I was disappointed because I left the heart specialist. I loved the doctors. I loved my coworkers. And I was growing, but slowly, because it was a small office. And I went to this oncology company thinking that they would teach me coding. They couldn't, they didn't have time. So I started to do demographics, which is enter patient information. And then when I was entering demographics, I had to turn around and collect the money. And I was just doing every position at that job. I was all over the place, only for like $2 more an hour. So I did leave there, and then after I left there, I got a great job at a hospital, one of the top hospital systems in the South. So I was like, this is amazing. So I worked for that hospital for about 3 years and I loved it. It was huge. It grew so much. It was a billing company that got bought by the hospital. So it went from like 75 of us to they bought more floors in this building, and there ended up being hundreds of us. And it was just amazing. And I worked with different people. We had big celebrations, and we had big Christmas parties, and everything was bigger, and you were a smaller unless you really made your mark. And I have a lot of personality, so everyone kind of knew who I was, and I was like, wow, new people would come in and be like, you're Wendy. And we would have cubicle contests, and me and my coworker, we used to team up and win the cubicle contest. Sometimes I would do them alone. So I loved working for a big hospital, because you have more benefits, you have more bonus opportunities, and it's more structure. And it was growing, and it was really, really exciting for me. But for some reason, when it comes to the pay, you can't really demand as much with bigger hospitals because they have so many employees and they want to be fair. So that's where I got stuck. I wanted to make more money, and I was doing so much. I was collecting so much money and doing so much, and I would get compliments, but I didn't get any more pay. So I was like, it's time to go, and it hurt me. Okay, I found myself in limbo. So I left there, and then I ended up working for a big children's hospital in Atlanta. I was excited. It's big too. I was used to the bigger offices, but I had to go in as a temp because the economy changed to where you used to get hired as a medical biller and coder straight on, but all of a sudden they started using temp agencies. So I found myself going to temp agencies, but that's how I landed the children's hospital. And so as I worked there, I loved it because they had really good structure, and they had us in cubicle teams. I love the cubicle team structure. That was fun. And within the cubicle team, they would split the accounts receivable with you and like one other person. So it's like one big team tackling something, and then it was another they broke it up into smaller ones, which really, really was fun. The issue was working as temp. I started talking to other people, and they were like, I've been temp for a year. I said, no way. I'm not being temp beyond 3 months. I talked to my manager, and I was like, I want to be on permanent. So I had to contact the temp agency, and then I had to contact the HR at the hospital, and then I had to apply. I had to apply through the hospital like a normal employee, a normal person would. I applied to the hospital, and then I told my managers, to pull my resume and go from there. That was time consuming, and it was discouraging because I was just used to just getting in the job and having a position and having my benefits and everything. But this is what you learn when you jump, hop, skip jobs as a medical biller or encoder, or as anyone. You learn that, hey, what looks good on the other side is not always, and sometimes it is. So long story short, I ended up getting hired because I had 200% yes. When I say 200%, I mean it. Like, you work at 100%, I was doing 200%. This hospital, the only way you could get bonuses is if all your team did really, really good and their production was good. So I worked so hard and lifted us on up along with a lot of other people, and we were able to get the bonuses, but I just wasn't because I was temp. So when it came for the job offer, they offered me like less than I expected. And so I was kind of concerned. So I emailed the guy and I said, hey, I would like more money. And he offered me like 50 cents more. And I didn't like that. So even though it was a really good position and I probably could have grown, I was still anxious. Atlanta is so competitive. You can get more money. I got a job offer for a treatment management company, which is like a drug treatment center. And their billing office had located to Atlanta. And so they were hiring like top dollar, okay? But they were through a temp agency too, but it was a definite temp to hire. That's what I was told. So they sold it to me. I got there. I loved it. It was very small. We grew. Everyone was collecting. I had to learn new codes and new things as far as treatment centers. It's totally different. So even at hospitals, a children's hospital, a regular hospital, a specialist office, and from drug treatment, I did it all. And it's different, but it was fun, and I was collecting, and they didn't have a bonus structure yet. but they came out of another state and they were just trying to build and come to Atlanta and do their thing. But you know, it was difficult because they didn't have as much structure, so it didn't last long. And I started to see people leave. They start cutting people little by little, little by little. And so we all got the picture. We were like, it might be time to move. But then the manager was like, no, we're going to hire some of you guys permanent. And I was excited. And so they offered me a specific amount. And it was the same amount as I was getting paid as a temp. I wanted like $2 to $3 more an hour because I was a top collector in there. And I had been a top collector for Children's Hospital, one of the top collectors for the bigger hospitals. So at this point, I felt like I had leverage, and I always kept up with my numbers. Keep up with your numbers. So I would do like similar to an offer letter. I would do a counter offer letter where I would say I collected this amount in this amount of time, and this is why I feel like I deserve this amount. I appreciate the opportunity. I was very gracious in the letter, and I was very straight to the point about the money that I made and just asking them professionally. So, you know, when I did that and I talked to the lady in the room, she said, I can't offer you more. And I told her, I said, well, can I have a few days to make a decision, like 2 days? She looked at me like everyone else just accepted it. I said, please give me 2 days to think about this offer. So I was going to go home and think about the offer and see if I made the right choice, because people were coming and going and it seemed like it had a high turnover. So I went on my break and I used to walk around the building. I walked around the building and one of the managers came up after I was walking from outside. She said, come here, come here, come here. And she was like, they're gonna give you the money you wanted. You can't tell anyone. Oh my goodness, I was so excited. I took the job, took the offer, and I began to work. But unfortunately, like I said, the job ended up going back to the other state, and it closed down the offices in Atlanta. So I had to leave, I had to go. And where did I go? I went to California. I went to California, you guys. Yes, I said, Atlanta, I've tapped out. I need more money. I need an opportunity. I always wanted to move to California. I moved to Southern California, Orange County, baby. And I went through a temp agency and I got the position, and I was just different. Out there, they're more relaxed. They're more relaxed, and I was getting the money. And the managers at the place I was working at, over the weekend, they tapped into my computer to kind of see what was going on, I guess. And so when I came in after that weekend, I saw someone had been tampering with my computer, and I felt some kind of way. I'm like, hey, you can ask me how I'm doing things. You can ask for advice. But I felt like there was a distrust in that. So I knew I didn't want to work at that place. So I started to apply and interview, and I landed a job with a doctor. Okay, he was a surgeon, a specialist again, but what was amazing about him, he started out as a eye doctor, then he went from that to a surgeon, and he was climbing the ladder, and I loved it. And he was a single doctor. I was working for multiple doctors. So he was real with me. He said, hey, you're coming in. The person that left. She just left. And so you got to pick it up from here. And I told him, boom, I can pick it up. I picked it up. I did it. I got multiple raises within 6 months. And on top of that, I reorganized the office and started creating systems to help things work better, and started collecting more money than he had ever seen. Like, I was a superstar, and he gave me a promotion. He gave me a new title. He gave me new money. I wanted bonuses, and he said he couldn't do that yet, but he wanted to see what I had. He said, if you got it. He was like, if you got more, I can give you more. Helped him to build the surgery center, the billing part of it, and that was amazing. But love work. I chose my husband, and I moved back to Georgia. But the doctor, he felt like I did such a good job that he said, if I can create a system to where I can work in Georgia and still, work for him and do his billing, that he would still pay me. So we negotiated a monthly amount, and we wrote up a contract. And then I started to create a system to where they could send the information from California to here. Now, it was a trust issue because doctors have to trust you. And so we kind of ended things because of a trust issue, him feeling like, are you collecting enough? He had a new surgery center, and I understand. I understand as a business person, you want your employees there, especially if they're handling the money. So long story short, I had to let that go. And when I let that go, COVID, the pandemic. All right, so I had to make a decision. I love medical billing and coding. I still do. And I said, okay, I'm gonna be an independent contractor. I'm gonna work for myself. And I had my LLC, so I said, hey, I'm going to teach other people about medical billing and coding. I'm going to work for other doctors. I'm going to get a percent, so that's the last step you want to take as a medical biller and coder. Once you get your experience and you get your leverage, you've been a manager, you're like, hey, how can I make more money? So I wanted to be an independent contractor so I could speak to different doctors and improve their AR and get a percent off of what I collected. So those were my intentions, but then COVID happened. So now I'm back to square one, and I do have Charge Infinite, which I help people with resumes. I talk to people about medical billing and coding. I'm a notary public. So, I've done some new things to gain income because it got a little tricky due to COVID. But I'm back, you guys. If you have any questions, put the questions down in the comments. I will answer all of your questions. I will come back at least once a week and talk to you guys about medical billing and coding and more details on my experience as far as what did I do at the heart specialist, what I did at the children's hospital, the regular hospital, the oncology, the treatment management, the surgery center. I learned so much about billing, especially billing in different states, and had to learn different laws. So I've learned a lot along the way, and I'm willing to share it. Yes, sharing is caring. And you guys can request Zoom meetings one-on-one. I would love to share the information on how I became a top collector, an accounts receivable person, and how I stepped up the ladder. But definitely like, subscribe, share to show me that you care, guys. I'm going to be coming on here every week. I'll answer whatever questions you have. I'll do a Q&A at the end so that you guys can get more information and see if this is the right career for you.